Hi everyone, my name is Cindy and I'll be the host for today's session. Okay, before we start, I would just like to inform everybody about the agenda for today's session. So the guidelines is where I'll be going through the overall guidelines to follow in this whole entire session. An introduction is where we will get to know more about our speaker for today, Paul. And also our sharing session is where Paul will be sharing with us on how to refine intuitive ideas by learning from failure. Q&A session is where Paul will be answering your pre-submitted question and any questions that you might have throughout this whole entire session. And the closing is where I will be announcing our upcoming programs that we have that RYSE is currently organizing. And just a quick reminder, the guidelines are please stay muted and turn off your video at all times when you join this call. If you have any questions, please do ask them in the chat box and we will be asking them during the Q&A session and Paul will be addressing them as well. And please use respectful language in the chat. Welcome to our online webinar, How to Refine Intuitive Ideas by Learning from Failure by Paul Lee. A little introduction on Paul. Paul is the co-founder and CEO of Flipidea, an award-winning data as a service platform offering analytical information about business failure. His accomplishments include co-founding ActiHub, as well as former founding director of Waffle Games, an online mobile game studio, and AI Law, an AI legal chat box. Before that, Paul also co-owned a business consulting firm and a conference management company. This forum is part of Ready Set RYSE, a series of online events that aim to inspire Malaysian youth to start small businesses and equip them with the practical tools and mindset needed to do so. This event is brought to you by RYSE, a Malaysian research and social outreach project that empowers youth through entrepreneurship. And RYSE is proudly supported by City Foundation. Without further ado, I'm happy to welcome Paul for the day. Hi, Paul.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Cindy. Thank you very much for the introduction.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So we're good to start?
Yep. Take it away, Paul.
All right. Okay. So I will prepare the slides and screen share. All right. Can everybody see this? Okay, cool. Right, so today's topic, I will be talking about how to learn to refine our idea, from business failure. So before we start, I would like to ask the audience a pop quiz question. If you plan to fail but succeeded instead, can you describe what happened there? Anyone? Anyone would like to have a go?
You just got lucky.
You just got lucky. All right, good one. And any more? Yeah, because I can't read the chat, so I'll need Cindy's help too. Yeah. All right, so if none, yeah, you've got a failed plan. So even though you got succeeded, right? Okay, I know it's a lame dad joke, but yeah. All right, so before we start further, I would like to encourage everyone to verify all the information that you received today or you've heard. Please do check and don't just take my words for it. All right, I would like to start with this quote by Albert Hubbard. A failure is a man who blundered, but is not able to cash in on the experience. So in other words, if you failed and you failed to learn from it, then, it's not great, right? So therefore, the importance of learning from errors and mistakes, yeah. But for our talk, I would like to clarify the meaning of business failures, because I'm talking about failures in the business context. So what is business failure here? So in a simple explanation, we're just going to define it where a company or any organization were enabled to make a profit and turnover. All right. So because of that, they have to shut down or cease their operation. Now, why is business failure an important topic? Because more than 75% of new and small businesses around the world shut down every year. And according to statistics, there are about maybe roughly 100 million new businesses get started every year. Now imagine out of those, you have more than 70 million shutting down every year due to strong competition or poor business model, or they die because they ran out of funding, or they actually created a business where there's no real business needs. And according to our own research that we've done, majority of the businesses shut down within the first 3 years or 3 to 5 years. And here are some of the examples. For instance, this company in Shenzhen before was run by I think she was very young. Anyway, this very young CEO, she managed to raise money, although from Matrix Partner China and Shenzhen, this Zen Fund. They are very big, very reputable investment firm. And but nonetheless, even with $3 million, she still fell because she mismanaged her finances. Actually, her product only served a very small group. So in business context, we call it the poor product market fit. Otherwise, a good product market fit would mean that you have a product that is highly needed and solving a real problem that the large market that you're targeting, they need it, they want it, and they are paying money for it. And your results from your traction or from your revenues are saying so. So there's real proof to that. But unfortunately for her business, she had a poor product market fit, and then also she lied. She fabricated her data, and all one thing led to another. She shut down within 1 year, even with $3 million of funding. Now this is an example of Offpick, an online platform from PJ before. So they raised almost $1 million from Cradle Fund and Gobi Partner, which is a popular VC firm in KL. And they died due to strong competition from GrabPay, WeChat Pay, and I'm sure there are a lot of others right now. And poor business model. Yeah, the business model was not really that solid and strong. And oddly, some of you may think that, and then how come they died also from failed fundraising? Actually, they had a good high growth rate for a small company, and even for our Malaysian context and in Southeast Asia. But their VC wanted a higher numbers lah. Yeah. So, but before we go further, I also want to sort of like break down a bit, simplify a bit about what is startup, what is venture capital, and what is startup fundraising. Yeah. So this is a very general overview of what a startup is. A startup is a company that has been designed and also developed or started from day one with an attribute to grow very fast. That's what a real tech startup means. It doesn't really just mean a company that just started up, although the word startup is there. As you can see in this curve, the growth is it's very steep, and usually from starting to when they become, when they want to list themselves in the public market, this is a range of 10 years. And what is venture capital? Venture capital is an investment that founders of this startup would raise to scale, to grow and expand their business. And VCs, in short, will fund these companies because of their growth, not because of their, just idea. They want to start up a business and then they're going to raise VC money. For that, you can go for angel, because VC money is actually what we like to call in the ecosystem, it's money with steroids, or money on steroids, because they have very high returns expectation. Yeah. And what is startup venture capital funding then? So here's an overview. To raise funding, of course, at pre-seed, you can have little traction or no traction, but provided that you have a very good and very viable potential idea, and then you would raise about 100,000 US dollars to 1 million at 1 million to 4 million valuation. And then you would then build your product, and then you will gain some early traction, and then you will gain early revenue. In the first year, you will start to earn about 300,000 to 2 million, and then you will start to raise 1 to 4 million seed money, and so forth. So as you can see, to raise VC money, what a lot of people don't know is that it has a very high goal to meet. Otherwise, like off-peak, you may earn, let's say, off-peak failed to raise Series B, but their last funding was at Series A, and to raise Series B, you need at least 15 to 14 million of revenue per year. And if, let's say, they only earn 10 million, which is Series A's benchmark, and that will fall short and they will still die. But if, let's say, you raise the money through bank loans or angel investor or other people where the expectation is not so high, then even with 10 million, it still be okay. So I hope that, some of you who are thinking to start a business and planning to raise money, you need to really do your homework and really understand what startup fundraising is all about, okay? And here is a visual roadmap to show usually how many years it takes for a startup to reach a multi-million status, or go and list themselves in the stock market, or before they get purchased. But these days, even if you look at media, everyone's talking about building a unicorn company or startup, meaning that $1 billion worth. But you see here, these blue ones, these are the revenue that you need to earn every year. And as you grow, first few years you started out in your garage or your home or like in an incubator, then you will your head count will also grow from 9, 10, 30 and to thousands of people, and your costs will also be high as well. So as you can see, it's really not as simple as one would think. In fact, statistics shows that the numbers of company, once they receive seed funding to reach $1 billion company status, is less. It's ranging around 1 to 3%. Out of the 1% that is started from seed, by the time they reach to the unicorn status, would have failed and died, or they become maybe not as profitable or valuable. Then VCs will exit, or they'll sell their share to other investors, and then they'll just remain small. But as you can see from this funnel, this was a case in Europe, and it's not. It's also, the numbers are also around the same for the US. About 1,000 companies started at seed level, and by the time they reach here, the 1 billion mark as a unicorn, only 13 were left. That means only 1.2% succeeded to become a unicorn company. So I always like to say that, to start a business, it ain't rocket science. Anybody can start a business. Your lemonade stand is also a business. Your burger stand on the street, or your char kway teow stand on the street is also a business. But to sustain a business, it requires some, hard work. Not just hard work. More homework. Yeah. So I would like to say, it requires business science to really start to look into your whole setup and to measure it, to plan, to be strategic. But to scale a business as a startup with hyper growth to become $1 billion company, it is as hard as rocket science. Why? Statistics have already shown, and you already shown you all this chart, that it's super hard and the failure rate is high. Now, if someone tells you, okay, you don't need a business plan to start a business, as you can see here, this is an architectural plan to build a house. So even a house, you need a plan. And a house is static. It doesn't have a lot of moving parts, right? But business is made out of human, the market is made out of human behavior and everything, and there's a lot of factors. It's very, very dynamic. So if someone asks you to build a business without a plan, challenge him to build a house, a static one, without a plan, and see how your house will look like. And why do companies fail? According to our research and findings, a majority of them fail because they failed to even look at whether the solution or product that they're creating is really solving a problem, a real world problem or not. Yeah, and basically a lot of them, they did not test their idea, and then they just jump right into it, right? So if entrepreneurship or like doing business is so hard, then do we then not what does it mean? Do we then don't do it then? Well, not necessarily. Yes, entrepreneurship is hard, but entrepreneurship is an ongoing process. We face failure day after day, critical problems day after day. So it's really an attitude. It's really a process. It's a mindset, and how we want to work towards that. So how do we then fail forward, to success? Yeah. So Dave Anderson said, to succeed, you have to open to problems. You have to be open to failure. And as you go higher the ladder, you get more problems. It's just like just now I showed you all the chart. As you scale your business, becoming bigger and in a different phase, you will face new problems, right? But if we take building business in the form of, let's say, trial and error, if we have this mindset, we have a process in place. Like for instance, if a lot of us have went to school, right? When we do lab tests or experiments, we're in a safe environment. And when our teacher asks us to do a lab experiment, trial and error wise, and when we know what are the things to do, what are the formula, but because, maybe of our execution, maybe we add certain formula or did certain thing, but we failed to get the good result or successful result, and then that process failed, what do? You don't see your friends, or if you remember clearly, no one just broke down and cry, right? And be devastated and depressed. That's because everyone entered into the lab knowing that it's a safe environment to fail, and that it's a testing environment, so that you test your idea or you test your experiment, and then once you fail, you record it down, you measure, and then you learn, and then you do it again, and then it's a cycle. So even in business, it's the same thing. We design, instead of just building, we need to also be a little bit clever about it, meaning that, we must take a very methodical or very scientific approach, measure everything. Yeah, we test everything. And then if it fails, we met with the data we have measured, we learn from it, then we quickly go and refine it again. Yeah. And to innovate, to do something new, creative or innovative, right? We have to learn from failure. We have to be open to being wrong, because it doesn't take one day you wake up and then you just have this brilliant idea. No, if anyone tells you so, that person is lying, because it's impossible, right? Every successful story behind them, a bunch of tears and sweat and bloody effort, like everyone has put in the hard work and a lot of long hours, sleepless nights, testing things, trying to make things work. So in Dr. Lewis' words, he says, in the case of discovering process, we need to formulate new hypotheses. That means what new ideas that we want to prove right. And then if it failed, then we learn from it, right? And then even if it failed, we need to understand why it failed. But the most important thing about innovating is, first of all, we need to identify a real world problem. And then once we identify the real world problem, we need to ask ourselves, okay, what is wrong with this problem? How can you fix it? Why not somebody else? Why you? Or if there's a problem that even big companies or even governments have not fixed it yet, why? What's wrong with that? And if you want to fix it, how can you fix it? All these are very important questions. we should need to frame our thinking and our process. Yeah. I'm sure you all have also heard this quote: "Failure is the hallmark of success." But failure is also the mark of success that we have all worked hard for, right? And this John C. Maxwell, I'm sure some of you have read his book. If not, it's a very good book about failing forward. These are some of the simple questions he posed, and we can also use it as a note while we do our trial and error process, or like even in our daily walks of life. When we fail, we ask ourselves, what caused the failure? Is it a situation? Is it an internal situation that you can take control of, or is it an external one? Let's say, for instance, like outsiders or the market or a stranger afflicting it to you. If that's the case, then it becomes, okay, is that someone else's failure that is affecting you, or is it your own mistakes? Then you reflect and look at the failure to understand, is it really a failure, or is it you fall short? Now, this is very tricky. Sometimes we set a goal, yeah, just falling short doesn't mean we fail, right? So that is also a kind of conviction that we need to learn how to make, because a total failure will be like you have no result at all. For instance, you want to sell 10 of your product, you only manage to sell 7. All right, you fall short of the other 3 more to reach your 10 goal, but it doesn't mean that you completely fail. A total failure would be like selling just 1 or none at all. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are important questions. And another tactic that most companies uses is instead of learning from failure, what we do a postmortem analysis. That means you learn from something that has already happened. Then you just unpack everything and look at what caused the failure. But this is what we call pre-mortem analysis, meaning that we look at something and then we imagine all the different scenario that it might fail. So asking questions like how it might fail. And why do we do that? Because it helps us to overcome certain blind spots. It helps us to think more long-term rather than short-term, and also to manage overconfidence, because a lot of times we tend to be very overconfident, and we think that we're like Superman, or like God is with you, and that failure is just like you eat failure for breakfast, or like failure just won't happen to you, kind of thing, right? But if you do it, if you prepare yourself, right, and if you, let's say, keep asking yourself, okay, how might we fail in this scenario? What would possibly happen, to make us fail in meeting our targets, or what are some of the blind spots or whatsoever? If you prepare for every scenario, and when it happens, you can counterattack, you can bounce back, and you can tackle them. So when you do, I mean, it becomes a normal process to you that as you're doing or like solving your problem, then it's in that act that you became more effective, you become more efficient, you became more creative or whatever. Then that is usually the path that will lead you to a successful result or case. Now in building business, when failure rate is so high, I'm sure some of you have also heard of this mantra that it's very popular in Silicon Valley. That means it's a tech hub in San Francisco in the state. So all the geniuses, like in tech industry, they're all based there, right? So like Facebook, Google, they're all there, and they have this phrase called "fail fast, fail often, and fail early," right? This mantra, but I don't really like that phrasing. Rather, I prefer to think that we should fail inquisitively, meaning that we should be curious all the time, just like how we're doing a trial and error lab test. We should from the get-go, before we even start, we should be curious to find out that and also be ready to know that where we may fail, and when we fail, what can you learn from that? So being inquisitive. And then to fail deductively. That means even if you fail, you need to deduce, what happened there with factual thinking process, and also with with proven measurement, like everything that has been measured by data, you track everything, so you know that, okay, from this I deduce that it's because of this that happened, and not just by your agak gut feel, and most importantly, fail cheaply. Yeah. And so here I'd like to introduce everyone to this no code concept. I know that some of you might be thinking of starting a business, and some of you might even think about making your business available in the digital space. So when you do that, definitely you need either a digital product or software. And then if you don't know how to code, like me, I don't know how to code at all, then how do you build a prototype without coding? And well, there's this thing called no code. So no code basically means that you can use a software or a tool to build, yes, website, even up to a functional software or an app without writing code. So it's really just drag and drop, and then you put things together like a jigsaw puzzle, and then voila, it's done. And there are free tools for you to kickstart and even use that to test. And then even if they want you to pay, it's very cheap. So I would encourage everyone, the audience here, to think about using no code. Don't think about, try to find a tech co-founder, if, or like, build a team first, but rather use no code solution to go and build first, right? It's a cheapest way and the fastest way to test our ideas, where when we all think that our ideas are unique, but in reality, once you are able to execute that and bring that to life into the real world, then you'll realize a lot of people don't care about your idea. And if you want your customer to care, there's a lot of work to let them know that you're solving their problem. And this is where, through time and in marketing, promotion, or building and everything, all the time will add up their cost. And this is also when the founder is not experienced, they will end up dying because they run out of cash. Yeah. But if you use no code, for instance, you see like Webflow, they can help you to build the interface. Airtable is something that you can use. It's like a very advanced Google Sheet table kind of thing that can act as a database. And then MemberStack is how they use it to get people to sign in, do forms, kind of like fill in to capture information. And then they use Zapier. Zapier is like a pipe, like to glue everything together. And then you have an operating system. And this is what it looks like already. And here are some an example. Yeah, you can use Bubble or Webflow or MakerPad. That is to build website, just standalone website alone. But if you want to build an app, then you would need a database to collect all the data. It's just tables. Yeah, a database means a lot of Google Sheet, like a lot of Excel kind of like table sheets put together in a place collection, and it's called a database already in the tech world. But so now, there are companies that even Google Sheets, if you compile it, a lot of your data together, it is a database, right? Then you can use all this form, ready-made form, and then you use Zapier or Automate or Integromat, one of those solution out there, to join everything together. And then your user can, click, go from here to there, and all the activities that they can do, you're able to track the action, and you can do this even just by a one-man show, and with as little as less than $200 dollars. Yeah. Or you can also do open source, and it's free. Why do we do that? Because we want to learn, from our weak idea, to learn how we can improve them, or we can even learn from those who have failed, and then we pick up some of the valuable learning so that we can reduce our mistakes, so we don't have to commit them. And therefore, because causing mistake, committing a mistake is costly. You will lose money, right? And by learning from success and failure, we get competitive insights. And I'll show you what I mean by that, because successful learning is learning from best practices, like, okay, some of the management strategies, how to do certain things, and or let's say there are certain monetization model, like a subscription model or freemium model, or you pay now, buy now, pay later model, which is a very popular one now. And you learn that all this works, and then you use them for your operation, right? Even strategies, it's what successful learning is learn what to do from best practices. Then what is failure learning? It's basically learning from those who have done certain things, and then you learn that, okay, they felt certain way. That is where postmortem analysis come from. Basically, we learn what not to do, right? And in our idea validation, that means, if we have an idea, we want to refine it, want to improve the idea, how can we learn from the mistake and the failure that we make, and then we refine it, and then we further design it. So everything of this activity, we learn from what not to do as well. Now, if we don't, just imagine if you don't, what's the word? Differentiate yourself. If you're not unique, how then can you compete? This is just a very small landscape of the data and AI startup of 2020. And as you can see, the logo is so small, but it shows that it's a lot. But earlier, I started this talk by saying that there are hundreds of millions of companies, and this is just peanuts compared to that. Yeah. So if you are not unique, then how can you compete with them? So another way that we can also learn how to refine our idea is that we ourselves, we have created this tool called the idea checker. You can plug in your hunch idea, and then it can calculate your failure rate by also showing you some of the companies that share the similar ideas than yours, and then so you can learn from their failure. So just a very quick introduction of what we do. We offer information about companies, why they fail, like why they shut down, and basically we just study business failure, and then by doing that, we want to help our audience to learn from this, so that they can learn how to design and build a better business. All right, so that's it. That's I think that's all from me. So if you all have any questions, please ask. And there's no stupid question. I always like to say, there's only stupid answers. So, and I don't bite. So yeah.
Okay, I think we can just address now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Paul, for your sharing and lecture as well.
No worries.
We'll just look through the question now. I think Leon asked, regarding financial mismanagement, extravagant lifestyle, does that mean they are paying themselves too much rather than reinvesting in the business?
Yes. So for instance, by the way, for those who don't know, I'm based in Brunei. So in my in the startup circle here, I've known a few companies, especially one, right? They are still in their very early stage, and at that time when I learned about this fact, they were still struggling to survive in the business. And but this founder did something that surprised me. He went to buy this Scandinavian ergonomic computer office chair that cost thousands of Sing dollars. So that you imagine, that's like thousands of ringgit. And to me, I think that, yeah, if you have that money, you should focus on reinvesting back into your operation. Spend frugally, be thrifty. Spend necessarily otherwise, you're gonna run out of money, and then then you're just gonna suffer. I mean, if you want to pay yourself, pamper yourself, only do it when you have real income and that you can sustain your business, and you make sure that you pay your staff, you take care of your employees, you have enough budget to do your R&D, and then you think about paying yourself, and then whatever you want to do with your own money, that's up to you lah. But don't spend your money unwisely when you're still struggling to survive. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another follow-up from Leon. He actually asked, he wants to know how much is the no code, like roughly in maybe in Malaysian ringgit. You can give a context for that.
So after this talk, you all will be able to have access to the slides, and all the slides, they're all hyperlinked. You all can go and read them, or you can go onto our blog. I think by tomorrow I'll have it up. Then you all can also go and research yourself. But from what I know, like for instance, Bubble costs $0 to start. So if it's a single project, single user, you know, you're not commercializing it, you're just building it just to test for testing purposes, it's zero money. And as far as I know, even if they want to charge you, it's like less than $20. So you times how much would that be in ringgit? I think times 4, is it?
Yeah, times 4.37 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I mean, it's affordable lah. So it's more affordable than you go and let's say hire a few people, or like and then you know you go and rent a co-working desk or whatever. Then you still be costing you thousands of ringgit per you know, for the entire year. Whereas if you do this using no code, you can just quickly start just by yourself. You can be your own so-called Mark Zuckerberg, because Mark Zuckerberg could do it by himself because he was a coder, right? But mind you, just to remind everyone, the Facebook idea wasn't really his idea, you know, so he sort of borrowed that concept. But right now with no code, you don't have to worry about another Mark Zuckerberg kind of person stealing your idea, because if it's your own idea, you just want to test it, then you just use no code to go and build it, launch it to this small beta testers or like early adopters customers to test it. Once you got results, then you take it from there.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
No
Another
worries.
question is, someone asked,
Yep.
I would like to sell handmade crafts online. I tried selling on Shopee, but I think that other similar sellers ruin the market by pricing their products either too low or too high. From your point of view, how should I price my product without feeling threatened by other sellers' pricing?
Right. So this is a pricing strategy question. I don't know the exact answers. I'll be lying if I tell you I know how to answer you. But I can say is that even with pricing strategy, we do test, right? We will test the market by testing, okay, if today or for this product, if I price it at this X amount, and then I will launch it to this group of people, customer pool, you know, how will they respond? And then, okay, then you see that they don't respond the next month, you could still work on the same product, you price it differently, then you target a different customer pool, you see how they respond. And then, you know, it's really a trial and error thing. And then until you find that sweet spot, and then you test it to the open market and to see if it really picks up, then that is the right pricing point. Then all you do from there is all about marketing and promotion, or improving your product. But this is from the here of it, of course, this is different kind of strategy, pricing or promotion or marketing that you have to consider when you are competing in a very saturated or crowded market space, meaning that, you know, you are trying to sell the next burger, you know, alongside the 10,000 burger joints in Malaysia, or like 10,000 burger joint vendor, you know. So you have, yeah, it's either you make your product very different, you create a new kind of handicraft project that you're the first in Malaysia. Then if you're the first in the market, then the pricing point will be easier for you to set, because you have the first mover advantage. If you are a late mover, then you should learn what your customers or your competitors are doing, and then you try to learn from their failures, and then even from their success case, but don't follow their success case. Otherwise, you'll be competing head on. Then you just come up with something different, and then you compete with them. In my last talk with last week, I actually covered this subject, and on our blog, I actually have a good content there. You can go and try to download that slides. It teaches you even a very simple, just by looking at your competitors, look at their strengths and weaknesses, and then how they price, what is their product like, and then you just take it from there. You have to do your homework. Yes. Yep.
Okay, I hope it answered your question, whoever asked that question. Okay, we are moving on. Leon has a follow-up question. He's asking, so we don't need to learn coding ourselves, is that right? Or is it only for prototype users and it's recommended to learn it in the future?
Well, if you are now a computer science student, then, if you want to start something quick right now, even those with coding background, a lot of people are using NoCode just to quickly start, so that you can just start and then you can launch it as soon as possible, and you test it and then you get result and feedback, right? But there is no need for you to learn coding. You can just be that operation or CEO guy who does day-to-day operation management, or like sales and marketing, or even product design by getting your vision, materialize your vision into a product. There's no need for you to, even if you have money, you raise money, there's no need for you to know coding to build a team, because like, for instance, like myself, I don't know how to code, but with my experience before, especially when I spent a few years in Beijing, I've learned from some of the best companies there, so on the what to do, and then I've learned how to build a tech team, and I don't have to code, I'll let them code. So in this case, with no code, you should just use it to get your product up and to get early traction. And mind you, if you Google and do some research, a lot of no code have gained early traction up to earning $1 million per year until they decide, okay, you know what, our platform and our user base is getting very big. This current system can no longer sustain our usage. We have to build a new platform. That's when they build a new team and build their own product. Yeah. So it's really no, you don't need to learn coding to answer you, and you can also earn hundreds of thousands of dollars until you can build a tech team to then move from no code to a real coded product. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul. The
All right.
next question is from Deborah. She's asking, what are some blind spots of social entrepreneurship that you've observed?
Is that the main blind spot is that most social enterprise founder thinks that they are doing the project for social cause, and they fail to understand that it's still an organization that are running. Why I say that? Because an organization, that means you have many components, like day-to-day operations. You also need to market your cause or promote your cause. You need to hire people. Basically you need money to operate. And also, social business doesn't mean you can't earn money. A lot of time people think, I'm not for profit. Why should I be so calculative, or why should I learn all this business aspect to make money? You need money because you need to reinvest that. What not-for-profit organization means is that they don't have shareholders to take the money back into their own pockets, and the companies is building the company for the shareholders' interest, but rather this a group of people building this project. They have some initial capital to start, and then once they generate the money is to pay everyone, and definitely not above market rate, or like so that you can buy a Mercedes or live in a big bungalow house. It's just that pay at what a normal social business standard market rate is. Everyone can survive, and then the money will go back to reinvest to build your operation, to get your social business to impact more people. So that is the common blind spot. A lot of social enterprise founders think that, just because they are doing social impact stuff, they don't need to treat it like a real business. It's not true. That is also why a lot of social business and project fails. It's because they can't sustain themselves. They don't operate like a proper organization. Yeah, and just to add, in fact, a lot of religious groups, centers, churches, mosques, synagogues, even like MPOs, even a lot of their senior leadership, you'd be surprised, and I challenge you all to go and do a research on their leadership background. A lot of them came from big corporate background, so they all know this management skill sets and experiences in managing hundreds and thousands of people to do that kind of impactful work. So yeah, you can't run away from that. So yeah, that's a comment. I hope that answered the question.
All right, that's something good. That's something we learned today, something new that people of social enterprises also have that kind of background. The next question would be, what kind of mindsets should we put in facing difficulties in starting a business?
I started the talk by saying that the failure rate is very high. So you should start by knowing that you have a high chance of failing yourself. So you must be prepared to fail. So if you really want to start the business, and if it's your first time, you will surely fail. This is my 8th venture now. In total, in my lifetime, on my entrepreneurial experience, I have started 7 companies before. Out of 7, I only had 3, like okay success, and I defined them, did the success in my own way, right? So the rest, I flopped, I failed, and one cost me a lot of money. So it doesn't mean that you will get strike gold and be successful on your first try. So if you enter into it with a mindset like how I explained earlier, when we all enter into a lab to do an R&D lab, we know that we're in an environment that we can fail. We can test a certain product and then it will fail, and then we'll learn from how to tweak it, improve it until we come out with a successful result. So it's the same thing. If you want to start your business, you must be equipped that you will fail and you will learn from your failure. And then every month you take every day at a time, and then you just improve yourself, improve your product. Okay, if you launch your product in after 3 months time, even if you build with no code, then you see, how come no one is using my product? Then you ask your customers, because your customers will need to sign up, right? Then you email them, ask them, and then get real feedback. They will tell you, oh, actually your product is not compelling. I see another product that can solve it better. You can ask them, okay, what is the product? So you learn, and then you build again, and then you push on lah. As long as we have this mindset, and then we also treat failure. That's why just now I use the word deductively. Another word would be we treat failure scientifically. That means that we journal and record every step that we make, whether it's success or failure. Then we learn from the data. Look at what the data is telling you. Then you will know what to do next, and you will plan and strategize to do next. And obviously, when we want to move forward, we always want to reduce our rate of failure and rate of mistakes, so that we don't cost ourselves that much of money lah. Yeah.
Okay, you touched a bit about money and like the cost of failure, right? The next question would be, if a business idea that failed costs you money, is it still worth it to continue with it, or is it better to find a completely different idea?
Yes, you should continue with it. That's why you must, that's my opinion. My personal opinion is that every one of us are still testing. Or put it this way, until the day we achieve success, we are all failures. Does that make sense? So if all of us are starting until, like the media or if everyone around you can say, hey, Cindy, you're a successful woman, until, you earn that success, we are all failure by default. So if you know that we haven't created something successful and we're still trying, so you should minimize your cost. So that's why I keep saying, I always emphasize on cost cheaply, fail cheaply, is because of this. So if it will cost you to improve your ideas, to refine it, to improve it, then you must start with as little cost as possible. Test the idea first, because it's definitely going to fail, and then how you learn from it, then you improve it, and then you just keep on improving until you can generate more and more income. Whatever income you make, go back, put it back into to market it, and then after that to get more revenue, and then you keep that learning, keep that process. So that process, if you can use that when you are small, definitely when you're big, you also need to maintain that. Otherwise, there will be another common mistake that people do is that when they have money, they let their guard down. They think, oh, okay, we don't need to be so careful anymore. You know, we can do what we want because we now have millions of dollars in our bank. There's this phrase I like to say: it's easy to spend 1 million, but it's very difficult to earn $1 from the internet. So always bear that in mind, you know. So that's why you should manage your costs at all costs. And to start a completely different idea, whatever idea is the same process. So don't worry about failing. It's a learning process. I'm sure you also hear this as well. It's a common jargon that failure is a journey to success. So if that is true, then no matter what you do, you will also encounter failure, right? So just learn how to control your costs. Okay.
Right. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Right. Someone just asked a new question.
Right.
Let me just find it. Okay. If you're starting a new company with enough funds to hire 1 to 3 people, who would be the most important person to hire first?
Okay, what kind of business are you talking about first?
Social business, I believe.
Social business. Okay. Because I have never really run fully a social business myself, although I have cooperated before. But if you asked me, right, I would say hire a person, sort of like whether you call it a CFO or the money guy, like someone who has done a social business before, like in an enterprise, you know, that this person know how to raise money, know how to manage money, know how to reinvest back the money. Because in business, money is like fuel to an engine, you know. So it's like blood to a heart, right? So to allow the body to operate. So in business, if you don't have money, whether you're a for profit or you're non-profit, without money, you just can't operate. So, and in the social business aspect, it's very difficult to raise money, I know. So that's why if you don't have that person who knows how to do that, and with that kind of experience, you're really going to struggle if you're trying to do it yourself. So I would say the key person would be that money guy or girl who had business experience before. And then another one key person would be, we are in the digital world now, living in the digital world. So it doesn't matter if you are selling what kind of product, social product, e-commerce product, business productivity product like we do. Everyone is fighting for everyone's attention. So if you should hire, like, let's say like a social, like a new media strategist, or like this person who have done advertising or like, you know, marketing promotion, that they understand marketing funnel, they understand sales funnel, that they know how to channel people from your campaigns that you have targeted, you know, a lot of eyes, and then they will funnel to your website, they'll understand your cause, and then they know their compelling value that you're trying to serve to the community, and then they bought your vision, and then they're ready to either donate, purchase, and support you. So you need that person. So yeah, and another person would be, yeah, like an operational, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. So the last question will be from Leon again. He asked, this is a general question, are there any additional resources or books you recommend besides using Flipidea?
Of course. I have a list. Okay, so if I can quickly type them, otherwise I will, I will remember to add this book list on this particular slides that I will put up on our blog, so that if you forget, then you can always come back to our blog tomorrow or next week, early next week, and you will find them. So my first book will be reading The Lean Startup. It will teach you how to, you know, be lean. And then the Sprint book, it's a Google Ventures guys. They teach you how to design or how to test your ideas in 5 days, as quick as that. And then another book is Hard Things About Hard Things. And then another book will be Venture Deals, if you're thinking to get into the startup phase. So these are some of my favorites. I think it will really open eyes and prepare you about startup and how venture capital works and everything. And then so when you want to go into it, you're ready lah. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Paul.
No
I think
worries.
that's all for the Q&A. Would you like to promote a little bit more about Flipidea and the offer you guys are currently having?
Yes. So by the way, before we head off, would you mind to do this for me, which is to scan this QR code, or when this slide is shared to you all directly, or when it's up on our site, just remember to come and click it and just do this 2-minute survey. Just let me know how I did today so that I can improve myself. You know, this is also me trying to learn from my success or like my own failure, particularly because I want to improve in serving people. And yeah, so I hope everyone got that. And then also lastly is that if you all find our work interesting, we are actually doing an early adopter promo right now. We're giving our first 500 customers who are subscribing to our solution with annual billing will get their second year free. So it's like you pay one for this year, and then you will get your second year free lah. And then there's a promo code there, you can use it, and then you can go onto our site and check out what we do, and it will if you find what we do is compelling, it's useful, and then you can subscribe or share that with your friends. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Paul, so much.
No worries.
All right, with that, we have come to the end of this webinar. That was Paul sharing his experience and insights on how entrepreneurs can refine their ideas, brought to you by RYSE and supported by City Foundation. I hope you find this webinar useful. If you're interested to check out more about Flipidea, or you want to know more about what they do, you can always check them out via their social media handles that is shown on the screen. So they are available through Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter. And you can also go and visit their website, which I believe they have linked it in the chat box below for more information. All right, so if you are interested in to start a small business of your own, I want to introduce RYSE flagship program of the year called RYSE Online. It's a free beginners online course for Malaysians to learn more about the basics of building a small business from scratch at your own timing. So it's currently open for registration. So if you're interested, you can register now, and it will close in July. And Malaysians that are aged 18 to 28 years old will get the opportunity to actually win seed funding up to 10,000 ringgit. So you stand a chance to win that if you're Malaysian aged 18 to 28. So if you're interested to sign up, you can always register via our bit.ly link that is linked on the slide, or is also attached to the chat box. So if you're interested, just click on and just register for the course. And to find out more about RYSE program and who we are, or interested in more upcoming program that we can offer, you can follow us or even find out more about us via our Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube. And with that, I thank you everybody for coming today, and thank you, Paul, for also coming and actually teaching us about how to create intuitive ideas. Thank you.
No worries. It's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.